Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, when did my body change so much? I'm not talking about wrinkles or graying hair. I'm talking about strength, or more accurately, the slow, sneaky disappearance of it. One day you're carrying groceries with ease, and a few years later, that same bag feels twice as heavy. Maybe getting up from a chair isn't as smooth, or those stairs at home suddenly feel like a mountain. I found myself wondering about this strange change when I visited my uncle last year. He's always been the strong, independent type, but now even small tasks seemed like a chore for him. That's what got me curious. Could we be missing something vital and overlooked that's stealing our strength silently? I had no idea what I was about to uncover would challenge everything I thought I knew about aging, muscles, and even vitamins. So I started digging, and what I found not only shocked me, it scared me. By the time you reach the age of 70, you may have lost up to 40% of your muscle mass, and chances are it happened so gradually you didn't even notice. This condition has a name, sarcopenia, and it's not just some fancy scientific term. It's a real threat to your freedom, your movement, and your life. And the worst part, it's happening right now, whether you feel it or not. I read a report from Johns Hopkins University that really made my heart sink. It said that seniors who suffer from serious muscle loss face a 320% increased risk of mobility issues. That means losing the ability to walk without help, being confined to a wheelchair, or worse, ending up in a nursing home. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about being weak, this was about losing independence. And let me tell you, that realization stayed with me. The scariest part though, most people, even their doctors, are missing the one thing that could actually stop this silent thief. There's a vitamin, yes, a single nutrient, that more than 78% of seniors are deficient in, and it could be the key to protecting your strength and your dignity. I couldn't believe how under the radar this issue was, especially considering how widespread the problem had become. So I kept going, determined to find out which nutrients mattered most and why we're not hearing about them from the people we trust with our health. I remember sitting there, staring at my screen, jaw slightly open, trying to wrap my head around what I was reading. How could something so simple, so fixable, be flying under the radar of mainstream medical advice? We always hear about blood pressure, cholesterol, and heart disease in every checkup, but nobody's talking about muscle mass, and without muscle, everything else starts to crumble, doesn't it? Your bones become more vulnerable, your balance fades, your energy tanks. It's like the foundation of a house slowly eroding while no one notices until the walls collapse. What really kept me awake that night was thinking about all the people I know who might be walking around right now with no clue their muscles are slowly wasting away. People like my aunt, who used to garden for hours, but now gets tired just standing at the kitchen counter. Or my neighbor who recently had a fall and broke her hip, something that might have been prevented if she'd had stronger leg muscles. These stories aren't rare, they're everywhere, and they're happening in silence. It made me realize we've been conditioned to think of weakness as just a normal part of getting older. We joke about slowing down or getting creaky like it's inevitable. But what if it's not? What if that weakness isn't natural at all, but actually nutritional? That's the kind of question that changes how you see everything. It changed how I see aging, how I talk to my family, and how I take care of myself. Because the more I looked, the more I found that muscle loss isn't just a slow decline. It's a signal, a red flag from your body that it's missing something crucial. And here's the most maddening part. Many of these deficiencies are easy to detect. They don't require fancy scans or high-tech labs. A simple blood test could reveal them in minutes. So why aren't doctors ordering those tests more often? Why aren't we told this in our 50s instead of finding out by accident in our 70s after we've already lost so much ground? It's a failure of communication, of education, and perhaps of priorities. We've been so focused on managing disease, we've forgotten to promote strength. I wasn't willing to just accept that, not for myself and not for the people I care about. That's why I started diving into the research, because I wanted to know the real story. I wanted to understand what nutrients were quietly disappearing from our bodies as we aged and how we could get them back. And what I discovered changed everything for me. Because once you understand how your body builds and preserves muscle, you start to see that there is a way forward. And it doesn't involve expensive treatments or complicated routines. In fact, it starts with something as simple as knowing what to eat and what to supplement, so your body has the tools it needs to fight back. So many of us are walking around with half-empty tanks, running on fumes without even realizing it. And when that one missing nutrient is finally restored, the difference can be night and day. It's like turning the power back on in a house that's gone dark. I've seen it happen. I've watched friends and family members go from barely being able to walk across the room to suddenly having the energy to take a walk around the block again. It's not a miracle, it's science. It's giving your muscles the nourishment they've been quietly begging for. And once you do that, you begin to see how much life you still have left to live. Stronger, steadier, and more vibrant than you imagined. As I kept diving deeper, I stumbled upon a landmark series of findings from the National Institute on Aging. They identified not just one, but 6 essential vitamins and nutrients that don't just prevent muscle loss, they have the potential to reverse it, even for people in their 70s and 80s. That blew my mind. We're not talking about temporary boosts here. I'm talking about real, visible improvements in mobility, strength, and energy. What's more astonishing, one of these supplements, often brushed off or simply forgotten, helped 87% of participants in a clinical study regain muscle mass in just 14 days. Think about that for a second. Just 2 weeks, and people who had struggled with stairs or carrying laundry suddenly found themselves able to do those tasks again. And this wasn't just a placebo effect. 92% of them reported improvements in real-life functions like climbing stairs or lifting bags of groceries. Many of them had tried physical therapy and failed. But with this, they were moving again. When I read those numbers, 87% regaining muscle mass in just 14 days, I had to double-check the study twice to make sure it wasn't a typo. I mean, that's practically unheard of. 2 weeks is shorter than a vacation, shorter than the time between doctor's appointments. And yet, for these participants, it was long enough to start turning back the clock on years, maybe even decades, of muscle loss. I thought about how many people live every day thinking their strength is gone forever, but it's not. It's just been waiting for the right support. That's the part that gave me goosebumps. We're not talking about rare genetic treatments or expensive equipment. This was a simple, targeted intervention, a single nutrient that most people don't even think twice about. And to see those kinds of real-life results in people who had already tried physical therapy and failed blew me away. These weren't Olympic athletes. They were regular folks. People who just wanted to carry a laundry basket without pain or walk up their own porch steps without leaning on the rail. I imagined one woman from the study, maybe in her early 70s, who had given up on taking her dog for a walk because she was scared she'd trip and fall, and now, just a few weeks later, she's tying her sneakers again, leash in hand, heading outside with her head held high. That's what this is really about. It's not just about regaining strength, it's about regaining moments. Moments of confidence, of independence, of being able to say, yes, I can still do that. I kept asking myself, why is something with this kind of impact not part of every senior wellness checkup? Why aren't doctors telling their patients, let's try this supplement before we talk about walkers or assisted living? The answer might be complicated, but the solution doesn't have to be. And that's why this study matters so much. It proves that muscle loss doesn't have to be a one-way street. And just as powerful as the muscle gains were the reports of daily function improvements. That's the stuff no one talks about when they mention aging. It's not just weakness, it's the slow fading of simple routines. Getting up from a low couch, lifting a grocery bag, reaching for a can on the top shelf. Those are the things people quietly start avoiding. But after this intervention, 92% of participants said they could do those things again without help. Let that sink in. Not just better test scores in a lab, but real-life wins. It made me think of my uncle again, the one who used to carry lumber for his DIY projects, but now winces lifting a gallon of milk. I wondered, could he be one of those 92% if he just knew about this? Could he get part of his old life back with a supplement he'd probably never even heard of? That question haunted me because it meant this wasn't just some theoretical data point. It was something we could act on, something we should act on. The way this nutrient worked, at the cellular level, rebuilding strength from the inside out, It felt almost like flipping a switch that had been stuck for years. That's how fast the body can respond when it's given exactly what it needs. And it reminded me that our bodies aren't broken. They're just underfueled. They're waiting for a chance to fight back. And once they get it, oh, they fight hard. They rebuild. They recover. They start saying yes to life again. And honestly, I don't know what's more powerful than that. So I want to walk you through what I learned, not in a clinical, boring way, but like a friend explaining something important, because it is. I'll tell you exactly what these nutrients are, how they work, and how you can start using them today to take back control of your strength, your balance, and your independence. Let's start with one that isn't technically a vitamin, but believe me, it should be. When I first heard about CoQ10, I honestly thought it was just something people with heart conditions worried about. That's how doctors usually frame it, if they mention it at all. But once I started digging deeper, I discovered that coenzyme Q10, or CoQ10 as it's usually called, is one of the most powerful yet underappreciated compounds when it comes to aging, especially for muscle health. I couldn't believe how overlooked it was. It's not just another supplement collecting dust in the back of the medicine cabinet. It's a key player in how we stay strong, energized, and independent as we get older. CoQ10 works inside your mitochondria, these microscopic power plants that live inside almost every cell in your body, but especially in muscle tissue. That's where your energy comes from. More than 95% of your body's energy is created right there. Without CoQ10, the whole system starts to sputter. It's like trying to run a car on fumes. Your muscles simply can't perform without it. They don't contract the same, don't recover the same, and certainly don't stay strong the same way. And here's the kicker: by the time you reach your 60s or 70s, your CoQ10 levels may have dropped by as much as 65%. That's not a small decline. That's like draining 2/3 of the battery from your phone and wondering why it keeps shutting off. I remember reading that and immediately thinking of my own relatives, how often they'd say they felt wiped out halfway through the day, even after a good night's sleep. I used to just nod and chalk it up to age, but now I realize that this kind of constant fatigue, the kind that makes even walking to the mailbox feel like a chore, could be something deeper. It might not be age, it might be a serious CoQ10 deficiency. What really hit me was learning how many commonly prescribed medications interfere with CoQ10 production, especially statins, the drugs used for lowering cholesterol. And these aren't rare. Millions of seniors take statins every day, thinking they're protecting their hearts. And while they do help with that, they come with a hidden cost. Statins are known to deplete CoQ10 significantly. In fact, studies show that over 60% of seniors on statins experience muscle-related side effects like pain, cramping, weakness, or chronic fatigue. It's no wonder so many people feel like their vitality is draining away even while they're following doctor's orders. Once I understood the connection between CoQ10, statins, and aging, it all started to make sense. The puzzle pieces fell into place. Here we are trying to improve one part of our health, and in the process, we're quietly damaging another. It's like fixing the roof while letting the foundation collapse. And because the symptoms, tiredness, loss of strength, sore muscles, seem so common, they're often brushed off as just getting older, but they're not. They're warning signs from your body that something is missing. Here's the good news. This is one of the easiest deficiencies to fix. You don't need prescriptions or complicated routines. You just need the right supplement and the right dose. For most seniors, a daily dose of 100 to 200 milligrams of CoQ10 is enough to start seeing results. But if you're taking statins, you may need closer to 200 to 300 milligrams to truly restore what your body's been losing. Now, I know what you're thinking. Can't I just get this from food? I wish it were that easy. While it's true that CoQ10 exists naturally in some foods, like organ meats, sardines, mackerel, and whole grains, the amount you'd have to eat every day just to maintain proper levels is unrealistic. And even then, your body may not absorb it efficiently, especially if you have digestive issues. That's why supplementation isn't just helpful, it's necessary. But, and this is important, not all CoQ10 supplements are created equal. I looked into this, and the absorption rate can vary a lot. The type you choose makes a huge difference in whether or not your muscles actually benefit. One product that stood out to me was Doctor's Best High Absorption CoQ10. It uses a compound called bioperine, which is a black pepper extract that helps your body absorb nutrients more efficiently. With bioperine, CoQ10 becomes up to 30% more bioavailable, meaning your body can actually use what you're taking. Another option I found really impressive is Connell Ultra CoQ10. It uses a patented water-soluble formula, which is a big deal because CoQ10 is naturally fat-soluble. That means it's hard for your body, especially an aging body, to absorb unless it's paired with fats. But the water-soluble form in Connell Ultra bypasses that problem entirely. In fact, clinical tests showed it absorbs 300% better than conventional CoQ10. That's a major upgrade, especially if you've been taking other supplements for months and haven't felt a difference. Once I understood how CoQ10 works, why it declines, and what it takes to restore it, I stopped seeing it as just another pill. I started seeing it as fuel. Not just fuel for my muscles, but for my motivation, for my movement, and for my future. Because when your body is running on full power again, you don't just feel better, you function better. You get your strength back, your energy back, and most importantly, your independence back. That's why I now believe CoQ10 should be a standard part of every senior's daily routine. Not just as a supplement, but as a safeguard. A quiet, powerful way to give your body what it's been missing and to take back control of how you age. Now let's talk about vitamin D. Most of us think of it as the sunshine vitamin for our bones, but there's something they don't teach you in high school biology class. Your muscles also have vitamin D receptors. When you're low on D, those receptors go dark, and that leads to weakening, trembling, and even muscle atrophy. If you've been falling more often, feeling unstable on your feet, or just generally weak, a vitamin D deficiency might be the culprit. In one study I read, seniors who supplemented with vitamin D had a 20% decrease in falls. That's not just a statistic. That's the difference between staying home or going to the hospital. And yet, over 40% of seniors are deficient. The numbers climb even higher if you're homebound or living in colder climates. Your muscles can't use calcium properly without enough vitamin D, which means your strength and coordination suffer, plain and simple. For most older adults, 800 to 1,000 IU per day is a good starting point, though some experts recommend 1,000 to 2,000 IU for people with limited sun exposure. Fatty fish, egg yolks, and fortified cereals help, but again, supplementation may be your best friend. I found Nature-made vitamin D3 2,000 IU soft gels to be a solid option. They use the D3 form, which is 87% more effective than D2. If you prefer liquid forms, Nordic Naturals Vitamin D3 drops use olive oil as a carrier for better absorption. Let me pause here and ask you something. When was the last time your doctor tested your vitamin D or CoQ10 levels? If you're like most people I've spoken to, the answer is never. That needs to change. I remember the day I found out just how far-reaching a vitamin D deficiency could be. I was flipping through an old notebook where I had written down some of my aunt's health complaints. Weak legs, frequent stumbles, constant fatigue. Back then, we thought it was arthritis or maybe just her age catching up. But now, looking back, all the signs were pointing to a lack of vitamin D. Nobody checked it, not once. What shocked me even more was that this vitamin is completely free for anyone who gets regular sunlight. Yet here we are with almost half of seniors walking around deficient. And it's not their fault, it's how modern life is set up. We spend more time indoors, we wear sunscreen, we avoid midday sun, and before we know it, the body starts quietly dimming the lights on our muscle function. The science behind it is actually pretty simple. Your muscles have these tiny receptors. Think of them like little light switches. Vitamin D flips them on, but when you're low, those switches just sit there, inactive, doing nothing, and you might not feel it immediately. It starts subtly, a missed step here, a little shake in your hands there, but over time it builds into something bigger. Fragility, imbalance, and in some cases, serious injuries from falls. One of the most haunting stories I heard was from a friend whose mom had a minor stumble in her kitchen. It didn't seem like much at first, just a trip over a rug, but she fell hard, broke her hip, and never fully recovered. Later, her blood work revealed severely low vitamin D levels. That detail stuck with me. What if a supplement or a few more minutes of sunshine could have changed that outcome? Vitamin D isn't just about bones. It's about reaction time, muscle control, and even mental alertness. It plays a role in how your muscles fire, how they recover, and how coordinated your movements are. And when you pair that with calcium, the two form a kind of biochemical handshake, helping your muscles contract properly and release at the right time. I started getting curious and asked around. Friends, neighbors, even some older relatives. Not one of them remembered a doctor ever saying, "Hey, let's check your vitamin D just to be safe." We check cholesterol, sugar, and blood pressure like clockwork. But something as basic and foundational as vitamin D, it somehow falls through the cracks. And yet, the benefits are huge. Just adding the right dose of vitamin D could be the tipping point that helps someone rise out of a chair with less effort or climb a staircase without holding onto the railing. These are quality of life wins that matter so much more than they get credit for. They mean independence, dignity, and less reliance on caregivers or mobility aids. The truth is, not all vitamin D supplements are the same either. Some use D2, which is cheaper but less effective. Others use the D3 form, which mimics what your skin naturally produces from sunlight and is 87% more effective at raising blood levels. And let's not forget absorption. If your body can't absorb it, it won't do any good. Ever since I started taking vitamin D more seriously, I began to notice little changes. Steadier footing, less fatigue during the day, and even an improvement in my posture. It's not dramatic like a lightning bolt. It's subtle, gradual, and deeply impactful. Like your body slowly waking up from a fog you didn't even realize you were in. So now, whenever someone around me talks about joint pain or weakness or feeling wobbly, I ask them one simple question. Have you had your vitamin D checked? More often than not, the answer is no. And I just shake my head, knowing it's a conversation we all need to be having much, much sooner. Now, vitamin B12, this one's a quiet saboteur. You could be deficient for years and not know it until you're suddenly weak, clumsy, or forgetful. Vitamin B12 is crucial for your nerves and muscles to communicate. Without it, your body starts sending scrambled signals, leading to tremors, unsteady walking, and even muscle wasting. What's sneaky is that 30% of adults over 50 have a condition called atrophic gastritis, which makes it harder to absorb B12 from food. Add in medications like metformin or antacids, and you've got a recipe for chronic deficiency. The recommended intake is just 2.4 micrograms, but due to absorption issues, higher doses or even B12 injections are often needed. If you eat meat, fish, or eggs, you're getting some B12, but again, probably not enough. For absorption, I really like the Jarrow Formula's methyl B12 lozenges. They melt under your tongue, bypassing the digestive system altogether. The methylcobalamin form also stays in your tissues longer. Another great one is Garden of Life Vitamin Code Raw B12. It's food-based and includes probiotics, which can boost absorption by up to 60%. I didn't always pay attention to vitamin B12. Honestly, it just sounded like one of those obscure letters on the supplement shelf. Important, sure, but not something I needed to worry about. But the more I learned, the more I realized B12 is the backstage director of so many essential functions in the body, especially as we age. It doesn't shout for attention, it just slowly disappears and takes your stability, coordination, and even memory with it. What really caught my attention was how long you can go without realizing you're deficient. I read that some people live with dangerously low B12 levels for years before symptoms start to show. That's when it hit me. How many seniors are walking around thinking they're just getting old when really their bodies are just starving for this one nutrient? It actually helps build and maintain the myelin sheath, this protective covering that surrounds your nerves like insulation on a wire. When that insulation wears down, the signals between your brain and muscles get garbled. That's why B12 deficiency can cause shaking hands, weird numbness in your feet, or that unsteady feeling when you get out of bed too fast. Even if you eat meat or dairy, that doesn't guarantee your B12 levels are healthy. Your stomach still needs something called intrinsic factor to absorb it. And if you have atrophic gastritis, which affects 30% of people over 50, your body may not be making enough. Add in medications like metformin or antacids, and the problem only gets worse. That's why sublingual supplements, those that dissolve under your tongue, make such a big difference. They bypass the digestive system entirely, getting the nutrients straight into your bloodstream. I was drawn to Jarrow Formula's Methyl B12 for that exact reason. The lozenges are easy to take, and the methylcobalamin form stays in the body longer, giving you more sustained benefits. Since learning all of this, I've started asking friends and family if they've had their B12 levels checked. Most of them haven't. A simple blood test could spot a deficiency early and potentially save someone from months or even years of unnecessary suffering. Let's shift to a classic, vitamin C. Sure, it's great for your immune system, but what many don't realize is how critical it is for muscle integrity. Vitamin C helps your body make collagen, which forms the connective tissue that supports your muscles. Without enough collagen, your muscles become vulnerable, weak, and prone to injury. In older adults, high vitamin C levels are linked to better grip strength and muscle performance. It also fights off oxidative damage. You know, the stuff that slowly eats away at your muscle fibers like rust on a car. Your body doesn't store vitamin C for long, so you need to replenish it daily. Most seniors need 75 to 90 milligrams a day, but many experts push for 200 to 400 milligrams to ensure peak muscle function. Citrus fruits, peppers, broccoli, and tomatoes are rich in vitamin C. But for supplementation, foreign research vitamin C with flavonoids is a strong choice. It's more absorbable and longer lasting. For nearly perfect absorption, Livin Labs lipospheric vitamin C is unbeatable, offering up to 98% bioavailability thanks to its liposomal delivery. Now, let me ask, have you ever dealt with muscle cramps, twitching, or chronic fatigue without knowing why? You might be missing magnesium. It's not a vitamin, but it's just as essential. Magnesium regulates both muscle contraction and relaxation, and a deficiency can lead to cramping, spasms, and persistent tension. Worse still, it interferes with ATP production, the primary energy source for your muscles. Over 60% of seniors don't get enough magnesium from food, and the medications many of us take, like diuretics or proton pump inhibitors, can make the situation worse. Women should aim for 320 milligrams and men 420 milligrams daily. Foods like spinach, nuts, seeds, and beans are good sources, but supplementation often becomes necessary. I recommend magnesium glycinate. It's gentle on the stomach and 4 times more bioavailable than common magnesium oxide. That matters, especially if you've ever had digestive trouble from supplements. Finally, let's talk about something you probably thought was just for bodybuilders: creatine. This compound stores energy in your muscles, helping you do those quick, powerful movements like getting out of a chair or climbing stairs. As you age, your body's ability to replenish creatine drops. Combine that with falling satellite cell activity, the cells responsible for muscle repair, and you've got a dangerous combination. The research floored me. One study showed that creatine supplements combined with light exercise helped seniors increase strength by 14% and add 2.2 pounds of lean mass in just 12 weeks. That's a major win for muscle preservation. Seniors don't need a loading phase. Just 3 to 5 grams a day works perfectly. The best version I've seen is Optimum Nutrition Micronized Creatine Monohydrate. It's pharmaceutical grade and ultra fine for easy absorption, especially helpful if digestion isn't what it used to be. Before I wrap up, let me leave you with this. I realized that fighting muscle loss isn't just about exercise, it's about nutrient defense. These 6 powerhouses, CoQ10, vitamin D, B12, vitamin C, magnesium, and creatine, work together like a team. They don't just protect your muscles, They help you reclaim your life. Because this isn't about vanity or muscle tone. This is about keeping your freedom, staying out of the nursing home, and living life on your terms. And it all starts with getting what your body needs, what it's been missing. If you found this helpful, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so we can keep bringing you content that supports your health and independence. And I'd love to hear from you. What part of this surprised you the most? Have you tried any of these supplements already? Share your experience in the comments below. Let's keep this conversation going because your health journey is something we're all in together.